welcome to another episode in all the things I'm doing to the Classic Mini. I'm not entirely sure where I am with episodes. I think this is front end episode, or chapter 4 as I'm calling it. So yeah, a lot's happened since I was last standing behind the camera. Alright, let me unplug this and take you through it. Okay, so I think that the last episode I had probably a cardboard template around this size, and right over here I have a stash of cardboard, one of those cardboard templates, and it was sitting ready to cover up the big ugly old carburettor box that I had that I no longer need. And as you may be able to see, I cut out a little bit more than that. Have I regretted it? A little bit. But will it look awesome when it's done? I hope so. We will see. So yeah, the main thinking here was the original plan was to have the adapted brake servo backplate with the bias pedal box on it sitting out here. And upon going back over some images and seeing what other people have done with the 16 valve conversion, it dawned on me that it would interfere with the side of the cylinder head, or it would be the clearances between the head and the brake system, if it's out here, would be very, very tight. Now I could mount the two, well, do a single line system and mount it on here and have a similar style of AP racing clutch here. I could use a standard one, keep it all up right here, but they're just ugly as sin. I don't like them, and so I've gone with a different idea. Figured if I cut out all of the bulkhead, I could do a smooth bulkhead panel all the way across, because I don't need a bulkhead box now, I just need space, and I can get an internal pedal box. There's many available, the likes of Titan, I think it is, Comp Brake, OBP, OPB, whichever it is, I can never remember. And there are many others out there, all make versions of a 3-pedal pedal box. You can do floor mount with rear-facing cylinders that sit underneath your legs. You can do top mount and have the cylinders pointing towards your knees, and they can all hide behind a standard dashboard. So if I can, I'll show you some pictures about now of what I've had from Comp Brake on how their system fits in the Mini. So I'll cue that now. Okay, so now you've looked at those, you can see how tidy that could then make this space here. I don't want to completely rule out ever having a standard type of brakes again, so I'm going to get some, like the MPI plate that goes over here. I'll get a polished stainless plate or something like that, cover up those two, because then that means I can revert back at any point to a more standard brake system or standard pedal box if I so wish to. But I saw a few images of the dashboard in, I'm trying to think of the guy's name. I'm sure his name's Chris. He's on Instagram, and he's got one of the most awesome 16 valve minis that I've seen. He's got a K conversion in it, and you can just follow the process through his pictures. You can see how much has been done to it, and gradually he's come across this flat panel that sits behind the behind the bulkhead, and it just looks really, really nice. It's just a really tidy look when you don't need anything, all the indents and holes and wires coming through like you would have on a standard Mini. So I saw that and thought, you know what, I might give that a crack. So here we are. Now I'm gonna just put you on the stand for a second, and I'm gonna hold up my cardboard template so you can sort of see my design process, because like a couple of weeks has kind of elapsed since the last time I had a chance to film. So yeah, okay, bear with me. Okay, so initially when I started down this road, I tried a slightly different shape, and I was kind of thinking along the lines of, where's my mark? I made a little blue mark so I know top and bottom where I'm supposed to be. But I was kind of following more of the shape of the original indentations, and the longer I went on with it, the more I sort of realised that I'm kind of, if I went all the way to the edges, it would definitely, it would give more of that flat panel look. And I was also struggling, as you notice, as I try and, this is a flat piece of cardboard, it was a flat piece of cardboard, and as I'm trying to bend it to the shape, it's popping out in the middle here, and when I try and hold it in the middle, I'm really having to put some tension into the card to try and get it to fit, because it's one of those things you don't really notice in the standard car, but this bit down here is a straight edge. Up here is a curve, which makes things a little more complicated. So I progressed from the CAD template to a, I'm going to call this a pad template. It's Proplex. So it's a bit more rigid, and it's a bit more, it's a plastic cardboard type thing, floor packing. It's quite cheap to get a single sheet. Really, really cheap when you find it in a skip that someone's thrown away as well. So I'm just saying that. But yeah, this gave me more of an idea of what the metal would have to do. So I'm going to use about 10 hands to hold it in here. As I try and shape it around the top here, it's a bit of a pig to try and get it to fit. And it was when I was chatting to my friend Dave, and I'm asking him about sort of stretching metal around this curve, and he's quite good with things like that. And we're sitting, I've been messaging back and forth. He's down with COVID at the moment, so get well soon, Dave. Upon staring at it for some time, I realised that I could put a little return on the top of the panel, and it would help to keep the panel rigid. I can put a second return on down here so that it dips into the groove here. And when you put the scuttle panel on, roughly hold it in place, said return is all the way up here. So when you're standing at the car, bear in mind this car is up on axle stands, and the subframe is at knee height where it's normally at ankle height. Actually, right now, you wouldn't be able to see that unless you get your head down and really try looking up into the engine bay. So I thought, you know what, that might be worth a try. So I then progressed on from my pad template to the real thing. And I've bent the return on it at the top, and this is where I've got to. So it will fit down nicely. The return here keeps it nice and rigid, and I'll put, yeah, the only place it really wants to bend is in the middle, and that will be sorted out when I do this second bend. But right now what I'm just trying to do is get everything sort of sitting roughly where it's going to sit, and I've got to figure out how much more of this original scuttle I'm actually going to cut out. Where the opening is currently this high, it's going to come up to about here, but I've just got to make sure I don't make a mistake, because I hate trying to patch up a bad idea. And I may already be there, but you know, make most of it as you can. So I've got to do a little bit of trimming on the bottom edge of this panel, and I've got to really get this shape down here correct and get this edge bent. But yeah, I'm quite happy with how this is potentially going to look. So this episode is going to be probably over the space of about a week fitting this panel in. So yeah, wish me luck. I feel I should also add that this is the current pile of metal that I've removed. I did it in sections, so the bulkhead box came out first, and then I went over to the left and then I finished off the section on the right. And in trying to remove the bulkhead box, I then discovered that I'd welded it to the cross member, which was really frustrating because then I had to cut basically the cross member out, because without a 9-inch angle grinder I was never going to get in there to grind it off. I tried various methods and it just got easier to take that out, and I'll put a dash bar in its place. And the eagle-eyed eyes of you may have spotted that I have removed the 2 gusset plates on the edges, so they are down here. So I had previously, a few videos back, put these metal plates on to support the subframe, and I've had to cut them back off. And I've got some, I might put them back on, I might cut some more on, we'll see. But as for now, that's how the front end of the car looks. And this is what the interior looks like. So I'm probably just going to buy a bit of straight bar, and I'll buy Safety Devices actually sell these style of clamps, so I'll get one of them, weld it on. I can mount the steering column to it, that'd be nice and easy. And I can take this front cage out. It always bugged me that it was red anyway, so I'll pop it out, paint it black, weld the new bar on before I do that. I paint it all black all at once and mount the steering column to it when I'm done. But yeah, it's gonna completely change the look of the car. I have got an idea of what I'm putting in the dashboard now, but we'll have to see how that's gonna pan out. I'd like the I think it's the Curly Carbon Mark II, the starter dash. It's got this big curved section here that hides the all the dash bars and everything, and then you get a sort of almost like it comes down to where this is, but the curved section where the dash sits. So we'll, yeah, I've got my eyes out for one. I have had a conversation with someone who's selling one, so we'll see how that rolls, and then I'll yeah, I'll update you when we get to the interior. But I mean, everything in here is, well, with welding and grinding, probably a fire hazard, but you know, I've got the windscreen under here as I needed somewhere to put it that was safe. So it's down there, and the cardboard protects it, and the Proplex is just kind of sitting there in case I need some more. But yeah, that's where we're at. So hopefully I haven't waffled too much, and over the next week I'll film some more of this, and you'll be able to see this part of the car come to life, because I really do want it to look good when it's done. And I'm probably going to end up painting it myself, so if you start going really close, it ain't going to look great, but from a distance, I'll be happy with that. Anyway, onwards. Okay, so the bottom edge is now trimmed more or less level with my my line, and to be fair, if it isn't perfect, I don't mind. I'm looking for laser cut straightness, because I'm going to put weld in there, and then I'm going to flat it back so that it looks pretty. I might even try and put some pretty weld in there. So I mean, it looks like it fits nicely on that bottom edge now. It was a bit raised up in this corner where there was, I just did a rough cut. I didn't want to cut straight to my line, I just cut close. I've got a tiny gap either side before it starts to go up, and the same there, so I'm probably going to leave that easy. I'll just strip all the original seam sealer away, and having done that, pushed it back to the same place, you can see now the difference in the gap I've got here. I mean, I only trimmed off a couple of mil, but the way it rests on the curve is completely different. So that was just a rough line to sort of show you guys where the curve is going to be. So yeah, I think I've got a couple of lumps in the bulkhead, like that one there. It's just holding it slightly out of the corner. So I'm going to get the old grind wheel out, and I'm going to sort out this edge, grind wheel and possibly flat wheel. but sort out this whole edge so it is smooth and ready to weld to if I decide to. If not, I'm just going to put some, I need to do that here as well. Luckily I haven't had any wet weather for the last few weeks. But yeah, I'm just going to put some, what's this stuff called? Weld through primer on, zinc primer, whatever it is. It just, yeah, I'll get the flap wheel out and I'll get the wire wheel out and tidy these up. And yeah, then we can see where things are going, how they're looking. And that's before I then start making the cut for the top. I'll make the mark and I'll cut that and I'll gradually work my way down. So I think these corners are going to be fairly close, but because of the curve, I think that we're effectively going to go downwards at a gradual slope towards more or less that corner. And the same over here. So it's going to be like a gradual curve up to where this point is here. Yeah, we'll see how this rolls. Onwards.
It seems like the way to live. Said I should be a big shot. Said I should take you TikTok. I gotta rest. I'm feeling so good. In me I know it, but I'm misunderstood. Feeling like that, well, they say it's a lie, but I gotta tell ya, gotta live and let die. I gotta rest. I don't know I could. Nothing to reach, and I don't feel like I should.
Okay, I'm going to just give me wipe that lens. Hopefully that's, yeah, that's fairly clear now. Unfortunately, due to where I had the tripod placed in the direct sunlight, and this being what's forecast to be the hottest weekend on record in our lovely sunny little country, my phone, which I'm using for all these videos, had an overheat warning and cut out. So it didn't quite get to see everything. Oh, excuse me. So yeah, what I've done is I've used a combination of, I've got to be tethered here because of the charging the phone. Let's move on to the extension lead. You can see then. So a combination of the stripping pad, the grinding wheel, and the wire wheel. Oh. And I have taken back to bare metal everywhere that I'm liable to need to do welding to. I will get the drill and the brush into the things like the corners and stuff where you can't get the wire wheel. I'll get the brush with a small bit on there, but I've taken all of the paint off in all of what I think are the critical areas. I may need to take more off, but you know. And I've now remade my mark up here where I've got a cut. So you see this panel now sits nice and flush down here. As at very worst, I'll have to do some grinding or flap wheel to make this edge pretty, but the plan is to just do a couple of spots and then gradually join them up. Try not to put too much heat in the panel, but I will do this bend here first. But yeah, that's where it is now. It looks like it's too high, but it's actually not. And I say that because actually what you're looking down is that there's actually, I've put a little radius on here. I didn't want to do a solid 90 bend. I've done it as a gentle radius round, mainly because I bent it round a bit of box section which had a radius on it, you know, but I actually liked the shape. It's a much nicer shape inside. It's a smooth edge rather than a harsh edge. And as I push this, as I cut this and put the panel back in, I should be able to then push this up to join that edge, and again I could then flap and tidy that whole top edge before the scuttle piece goes in. So I'm going to cut, there's a raised section on the bulkhead from here to here. So I've done a little mark across the furthest out bit, which is more or less square. So I'm going to cut across there and over to these two sort of creases, and I'm going to sit this panel back and I'm going to make a mark. And I'm going to do that bit by bit, inch by inch, until this panel then sits back flush where it needs to be. Right, I'll try and keep this camera out of the heat and hope that it carries on recording.
I gotta lay down, think I've done enough.
Remember I said about it being a slight curve for a straight edge. Here we go. There we are, it's up in place all the way along the top. There is a chance I'm going to have to make a little plate piece to bridge this triangle, but to make a single triangle piece or to take the angle even then further up from there, I don't mind. I'm okay with that. I've obviously got to lose the folded edge from about here backwards gradually, but I can mark that on the top now. One thing I wanted to make sure was I've got plenty of overlap either side, so I want to measure from the hinge over an amount and make it the same both sides, so that that is even and within the reach of the panel, because that again is only a rough cut either side. So I will measure and make that the same. As you can see, fairly easy to do. Yeah, really quite pleased with that. It doesn't quite sit down there, but I think again that's because there we go. It doesn't sit quite flat and level, but I think again it's because I haven't got the cut the same on the two edges by the hinges. But I mean, if I step back, that looks quite tidy. That I quite like that. So I'll put the scuttle on briefly, just to sort of, because it is just sort of resting here on a couple of rubbish bins. Let's have a look. Roughly in place. So you can see the light where the holes are coming through for the wipers, but the fold is up higher than that. I mean, the fold is up, you can just about see there, it's up on this side, just above where the sun is shining through. So I mean, honestly, unless you're looking for that, you're not going to see it. I'm really, really happy with that. Yeah. So I'll get that measured, I'll get everything checked, and I'll put the fold in this bottom piece here and make sure that shape fits the curve, and then I think we are go to weld it in.